This video is for anyone who is looking to correctly introduce food tracking into your lifestyle to get more serious and specific around your nutrition and your results. So understanding calories, macronutrients, micronutrients, and doing this in a way that is sustainable for the mid to long term. And also alleviates the overwhelm, the frustration, the confusion, or just the doubt of whether this is even the right tool for you at this point in time. I'm going to be answering many of these questions. If this sounds like you, keep watching. Question 1, what is food tracking? Food tracking is both a tool and a skill, so it involves us weighing our food, logging our food into an app of our choice, which is going to pull from a food database. So now we can objectively see where are our calories sitting, where are our macronutrients sitting, so our proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and also if you like the detail around your micronutrition, our vitamins and minerals, then you also have that insight as well. When we develop the skill of how to track our food correctly, it is going to provide a very honest insight into our nutrition, quality, and quantity. Food tracking has been around for a very long time, and millions upon millions of people are using this to this day to improve their health, physique, their performance. I use food tracking myself and have been for a long time. And now at the moment, I use a mix of food tracking alongside other food monitoring systems like hand portions, informed eating, and that works very well for my lifestyle. It works very well for the lifestyles of my clients as well. Question 2, why would we introduce food tracking? Food tracking, in my opinion, is something that almost everyone should undergo for a period of their life. And the reason why is because it provides such a robust understanding of nutrition. We are getting a clear insight into the calories, the macronutrients of the foods that we are already eating day to day. So now we can actually see what are our caloric needs. Where is our protein sitting for both health and performance purposes? If we have a goal, a fat loss goal, then we have specific targets to hit. If we have a muscle building goal where we're going to position ourselves in a slight calorie surplus, we have a target to hit as well. And even more so, we can make those adjustments along the way. Because it is objective look at our nutrition, we can troubleshoot very, very easily. It is a skill, so we want to make sure that we're being diligent and honest with our food tracking, and that's how you're going to get the most out of it. It is going to provide you with such a high level of nutritional literacy and challenge many of the assumptions that you have about certain foods. For example, how many people still think that peanut butter is a high source of protein? How much peanut butter would you have to eat to get 30 grams of protein? Spoiler alert, a lot. And by that point, your calories and your fats would be excessively high. Getting familiar with the foods that we are already eating and the calories and macros that come with that. Also, food packaging and marketing is notorious for deceiving its consumers around what's high protein, what's low fat, what's low carb, and generally what is the healthier option to choose from. When in reality, if you can learn to read the nutritional panel, you can scan the barcode, and you can see whether that fits into your calorie or macronutrient targets, then you're at a much better position to make a more informed choice and not be dismayed or deceived by food marketing. Third question, what apps do I use? There are many options from MyFitnessPal, which is the most popular, to Cronometer, which is what I personally use and recommend. Carb and Diet Coach by Layne Norton. There's Macro Factor by Jeff Nippard. There are a lot of apps on the market. Ultimately, most of them are going to do a fantastic job of tracking your calories and having a good database that's serviceable enough for you to get accurate. I personally like Cronometer. It's what I recommend because it is going to have a more verified database. MyFitnessPal, while it's more popular, it has a user-generated database, meaning that any user can just input a food item and that's accessible to everyone else. Cronometer has to go through quite a rigorous verification process, and it pulls from very reliable databases as well. So you know that when you select an item, it's going to be more accurate. Plus, if you also like the extra detail around micronutrition, Cronometer has a fantastic insight into your vitamins and minerals, and the tools around it are quite exceptional as well. I use the free version. You can get the paid version if you want, but free version is sufficient, and it's really accessible. All you need is a food scale, your phone, your Cronometer app, and you're good to go. Many people have an apprehension towards food tracking because they believe that if it's not something they can do for the rest of their life, then there's no point learning it. In my opinion, that is flawed logic because one, there are many times we're going to implement strategies that aren't going to be for lifelong purposes, right? For example, we are going to have seasons in our life where we are working more intensely, or we have seasons in our life where we're focusing more on our health and our performance goals. Like things ebb and flow. And in the interest of understanding your nutrition, you're starting this process of getting more serious about your goals, then it makes sense to implement a strategy that is going to be high return, but yes, also involves a bit more effort as well. Learning how to track your food is actually a long-term play, because when you understand, you have that nutritional literacy, it allows you to potentially move into informed eating. Many people speak about intuitive eating, and that is essentially just, I suppose, eating in relation to how you feel, your sense of appetite, your satiety, and so forth. But that can be unreliable. Intuitive eating in and of itself, without actually being calibrated off a period of more accurate food tracking, is unreliable. Which is why if you learn how to track, then you can actually informed eat. And this is what I much prefer, informed eating over intuitive eating. You have the correct calibration of nutrition information to make informed decisions without having to pull out your food scale every time. And this is a fantastic skill and a fantastic position to end up in the long term. It's what I do myself. I don't track every single day. I track maybe 5 to 6 days per week. And then 1 to 2 days, I'll either track more minimally or not at all, just because I have the information to make informed decisions without it negating my progress. And I've been doing that because I did the diligence and front loaded that. So just because you don't want to do it for the rest of your life, or that you can't do it for the rest of your life, doesn't mean that it's not something that you should consider doing in the midterm as well. Also, specificity. Many people don't want to food track because they actually are just afraid of seeing the reality of how they actually eat. So they don't want to see the calories they're consuming. They don't want to see how poor some of their nutrition choices are. And in reality, it's all just feedback. It's feedback for you to improve. So as long as you don't get too emotional about the numbers, ultimately food tracking is a guide. It's not the law. What's most important is that you just get as accurate as possible. You do your diligence, you get the data, you're impartial and unemotional about it, and you use that to make tangible, actionable changes into your nutrition to get to your goal without the ambiguity of, oh, am I hitting my calorie targets? Am I in a calorie deficit? Am I in a calorie surplus? I can't lose weight. I can't gain weight. These all come down to, for the most part, numbers. And if you can learn to track the numbers, you can learn to make adjustments. What gets measured gets managed. Now that I've answered some of the most common questions, let's get practical. I'm going to take you to the kitchen, show you how I track that food, and give you some important pointers along the way so you're tracking correctly. We're in the kitchen now, and I have my food scale over here, and I have my Cronometer app, which we're going to be logging our food into. I have an assortment of items, which I'll also be taking you through as well. Before we get started, important rule: always weigh and track your food before you eat it, okay? This is incredibly important because many people allow themselves to get to the end of the day and rely on their recollection to backlog their calories, but this is going to be inaccurate. Plus, also, I know for a fact that many people are going to underreport what they've eaten, and this destroys the whole point of this objectivity exercise. We want to get as accurate as possible. Scan it, track it, weigh it before you eat it. Even better is if you can front load the tracking and log what you're going to be eating for the day, put in your meals, put in your healthy snacks, then that's going to take away from the decision fatigue throughout the day if that is something which you don't want to deal with, okay? So preparation, like anything, and forward planning can also apply to your tracking as well. Accuracy is going to be important, especially in the beginning. So if something says that it's 165 grams, then log it as 165 grams. Now, this is going to be more important depending on the food group that you are logging. For example, if you underestimate your vegetables, it's not going to be a big deal, honestly, really, because the difference between, say, 200 grams of broccoli and 220 grams of broccoli is not going to be massive at all. No one ever interrupted their fat loss because they underreported their vegetable intake or they were eating too much vegetables. When it comes to fats 9 calories per gram, you want to be as accurate as you can with your fats. So if you're using, say, 15 mils of olive oil, then log it as 15 mils. Generally, try not to use things like tablespoon, teaspoon, a cup, or a serving. Use the actual grams because that's going to be more accurate. The difference between 1 tablespoon versus 2 of olive oil is 140 calories. You don't want to get that wrong. Same thing if it's like peanut butter, nut butters, cheeses, high-fat sauces. Weigh those accurately. Or use an olive oil spray because then you don't have to weigh that and you can just coat your pan if you're cooking. When it comes to your protein sources, a question that is often asked is, do I weigh it before I cook it or do I weigh it after I cook it? So raw weight versus cooked weight. You can do both. It's going to depend on practicality. If you like to weigh your protein sources and then cook them, and that works out better for you, then by all means do that. It's going to be more accurate. Or just know that when you cook your proteins, it's generally going to lose about 30%. So a kilogram of chicken is going to be about 700 grams of cooked chicken. The calories and the macronutrients will be exactly the same. It's just that it's lost some fluids in the dehydration process of cooking. The exception to that is if you are, say, boiling something, like difference between the raw weight potato and then boiling it, it might even be heavier because it's soaked up more water, versus if you air fried it, it's going to dry it out, it's going to be less. But again, the calories and the macronutrients are exactly the same. Personally, I do generally more cooked weight because I bulk prepare my proteins, carbohydrates, and my roasted vegetables. If you've seen my 3-step simple meal prep process, you'll know what I'm talking about. In that case, it's a lot easier because then I can just pull from my cooked protein, pull from my cooked carbohydrate, roast vegetables. I've got the cooked weight there. I know it's 30%, and I can just track that. Just make sure that you're choosing the right option. The Cronometer will have, say, chicken breast, skinless, raw weight, or chicken breast, skinless, cooked weight. Just make sure you're choosing the right item in the actual index. Carbohydrates, the same thing apply there. When it comes to herbs and spices, you don't have to track these because the calories will be minimal. The exception to that is if you're using, say, like a seasoning mix, sometimes there'll be like added sugars, so just be aware of that. If in doubt, just track it using the barcode. When it comes to food products, you're gonna scan them using the barcode. If a product is not in the library, then you can either add it as a custom option, or you can find a comparable item that has the same calories and macros and just do it like that. Just make sure, again, you're using the grams rather than just a serving size, because a serving size or a cup or some of these other measurements, because it might not be accurate in the beginning. Over time, different story. You might get more skilled. It won't be as big of a deal. Sources, make sure you're still tracking these, especially the more calorie dense they are. So if honey, maple syrup, or you've got some more thick and saucy condiments, then track them. Here's a pro tip. If you use the same condiments, like let's say you just love Stubbs, then you can weigh at the start of the day and then weigh it again at the end of the day. And the difference between the two is what you used during the day, and you can log that, okay? Same thing, again, quinoa, if it's a food item, a packaged item, scan the barcode, make it easy for yourself, all right? Notice that I've gone through individual items and I've logged the meals of individual items. Avoid choosing complete meals on your app. So if you've made yourself a sandwich, don't just choose chicken sandwich, because that actually has no reference to how you've actually made it. It might just be a generic option. So always put in individual ingredients where possible. I recommend that you use the custom recipes function as well, because it allows you to save time. If your breakfast is the same each morning, let's say you have 3 eggs, 2 slices of toast, and a spread of butter, then just put it as a custom recipe, just select that every morning, and it's gonna be a lot easier rather than doing it manually every single time. Or if there are other recipes that you like, protein oats recipe, omelet recipe, then just put it as a custom recipe, save yourself the time and the effort, okay? Important to mention that when it comes to your targets, hitting your calorie target and your protein target will be the most important. The ratio between your fats and your carbs is going to be personal preference to a large degree. Obviously, we want enough carbohydrate to supply your performance, but calories and protein are going to be the most important. Of course, this is still going to be built on the foundation of whole foods, minimally processed diet. So don't just treat tracking as a if it fits your macros type of thing. For example, if you've got 200 grams of carbohydrate, don't just see how much ice cream can I fit into my macros. We call this if it fits your macros. And many people do this, but it comes at the neglect of nutritional quality. Tracking in the mid to long term will teach you how to be flexible with your diet so that you can make swaps while still staying in line with your goal. And plus, if you know your calories well, then you can work in your ice cream. You can work in your Snickers bar, whatever it is you want to do, as long as you're following your calorie targets and hitting your protein and predominantly whole foods, you'll be sweet. Your app may say that you've burned X amount of calories. Don't give too much mind to that, because like any sort of smart watch, for example, you'll overestimate your calorie expenditure. Your calorie expenditure will be built into your calorie targets. So as long as you're hitting your targets, then that's the most important thing. Be honest with your tracking. The only person you're cheating if you do this incorrectly or if you're not transparent is yourself. Plus, it means I can't actually give you the feedback that you need in terms of caloric adjustments. Now, this might seem like a lot, but again, I assure you it does get easy with time and it'll become second nature. I did mention that you want to be as accurate as possible, but also accept that there's still going to be a level of inaccuracy with tracking. That's just the nature of it. The goal isn't to be completely spot on, because the only real way to do that is to get your food source, to burn it up and measure how much energy it is expended in the process, right? That's how we basically get the calorie counts of different foods. Be as accurate as you can, okay? Don't obsess over the small things. Don't let it overwhelm you, whether it's 5 grams off, if it's something again like your broccoli or even your carbohydrates to some degree. Hit your calorie targets approximately, hit your protein targets approximately, allow your fats and carbohydrates to move depending on your preference, and you'll be sweet, okay? By this point, you should have a clear idea of how you can implement correctly calorie tracking from this day onwards. I reiterate, be consistent, be honest, and you're going to get the most out of it. It would also mean a lot if you can share this video with a friend or a colleague or someone who you know is wanting to take their goals more seriously or is wanting to learn more about calorie tracking. If this has helped you demystify a lot of it, share this with them. It means a lot to me. And it also means that someone else is going to benefit from this valuable education as well. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.